Hey everyone, today I will be talking about how sampling is used in research. In week 7, we went over what sampling is and its objectives. Today, however, I will be going into more detail about the different types of research sampling is used in, and I will be going into more of a background of the different types of research. What is sampling? A sample is taking a subset from a larger group of people, items, or objects that are part of a larger population and used for measurement. For instance, a group of students are conducting a study and decide to survey students here at Bridgewater State. However, they decide to only survey the freshmen. In this situation, the sample would be the freshmen and the population would be the student population as a whole. Why is sampling necessary? Sampling is used a lot because it can be challenging or even in some cases impossible to collect data from an entire population as a whole. So if the entire population is 1,000, it can be very hard to collect all the data, so they might only decide to survey 200 people. It allows you to test a hypothesis, and it can reduce bias and maximize probability by using appropriate measurement techniques. There are many benefits of sampling. Like I said, maximizes error and uses proper measuring techniques. It's usually less time and effort. So if you find out that you made a mistake, it is easier to go back and fix it. It is easier to organize. It often involves less space and equipment, and it is cheaper than other methods. There are a few types of sampling. The first one is spatially based, and it is data that's in 2 or 3 dimensional form and is used to define a location. Characteristics would include sample, size, and location. An example would either be like a road or a house on a map, and it's commonly used to estimate the mean or perimeter of an area or the amount of a physical object in the area. Non-spatially based is usually specifies a particular location. It is not really labeled in objects, but labeled in images or text. The non-spatially based usually depends on the two or three dimensional considerations. For instance, the cost of a house is non-spatial because it depends on the location and the size of the house. Next is the sampling frame, and this is a process to decide how to sample and which option would be best. So first you want to define your population, who or what is your interest. Next you want to design a sample frame. So to start off, you want to identify a target population, and this is the exact group of people you want to study. And then you want to identify you also want to identify a target region, which is the exact area you want to study, and this will make sure to not cause bias. Next is sample design. And when you design your sample, you want to make sure your plan will adequately measure the population and measurement. And through this, you decide if you would rather use probability sampling, which is evaluating based on your statistics, or non-probability, which is based on your own judgment. Next, you want to find a way to collect data. So you want to find out how you want to collect it. It can be through survey, observations, interviews, questions, whatever you think works best for your topic. Next, you want to conduct a pretest, and you want to make sure that your measurement is going to help give factual information. And if it doesn't, then you want to consider trying something else and then reviewing that and then go from there. Next, you want to collect the sample. So after you find out your measurement, you go through steps 1 through 5 to make sure that the data you collected is accurate. Next, there are sampling methods technique. The most commonly used is simple random, and it is when the individual is chosen by an equal chance. For instance, if 100 people enter a raffle ticket contest, only one person will be selected, and each person has an equal chance of being selected. Next is systematic, where individuals are selected in intervals. For instance, if someone's out doing a survey, they might decide to ask every 5th person that enters a building. Next is stratified, and that is when researchers want to understand the existing relationships between 2 groups so the total population is divided. For instance, this is often used in geographical research, where geographical regions are divided by physical characteristics such as elevation, weather, human impact, even human culture. Next is cluster, and this is when population is divided into several groups and then individuals are selected from there. For instance, a region can be divided into clusters and data can be collected to represent the whole viewpoint of an area. It could be not just the physical characteristics, but also like humans, like, culture, what language they speak. Next is what studies is sampling conducted in. They are conducted in sociological, behavioral, political, marketing, and geographical studies. How sampling is used in psychological research. Researchers might want to conduct a study about the rise in anxiety levels in college students throughout the pandemic. They might decide to go around the quad and ask random students to fill out a survey. This is known as random sampling because every student that walks by has an equal chance of being selected. This survey would consist of questions asking students how they felt emotionally throughout the past few semesters with COVID. Next is sampling used in political research. In the United States, most registered voters identify themselves as Republicans, Democrats, or Independent. The Democratic Party is a sample of an entire population of registered voters. It can be used to help predict the outcome of an election. So if we know the percentage in a voter in an area of one party, we can predict that that candidate will get that percentage of votes. Next is sampling used in geographical research. It can be used to find the population in a certain area. We explained earlier how it can be used for not only physical research, physical geography research, but it can also be used to figure out, human culture. So if you are trying to find out how many kids in an area are involved in a town sport, surveying people from a neighborhood as example, it could be kids, parents, siblings. Next is sampling used in marketing. I took marketing, so I remember a little bit of sampling. When creators are trying to create a new product to sell, they will use sampling to identify their target market. Sampling helps creators identify a consumer's needs, which can help them grow in the market. For instance, if someone is trying to sell an electric scooter, their target may be millennials living in the city. It would be millennials because because this is something that they could use instead of taking the train every day or taking a bus, taking a cab to work, and often in the city, because a lot of times people that live in the city, they don't often have cars. They often, walk everywhere and take the subway or do whatever works. So thank you for watching, and I appreciate it.